thanks for watching us tonight. Is terrorism overwhelming the Obama administration? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Former Defense Intelligence Agency Chief Lieutenant General Michael Flynn slammed the White House for not having a strategy to fight the jihad. Also for refusing to use the term Islamic militants. General Flynn saying, quote, "You cannot defeat an enemy you do not admit exists," unquote. Flynn, who worked for President Obama, now joins a host of other former Obama officials in telling the world the administration has no plan to defeat Islamic terrorism. And that's true. Talking Points has been chronicling that for months. Here's the latest. 10 Democratic senators now telling President Obama that if there is no progress in the Iranian nuke negotiations by March, they will join with Republicans in embarrassing him by passing sanctions against Iran. Now, that country is the centerpiece of the terror war right now. If Iran gets a nuke, the jihad gains incredible power. Remember, the Iranian mullahs want to spread the Shia brand of Islam and also want to destroy Israel and the United States. The mullahs, as well as other Islamic fanatics, believe Barack Obama is a weak leader, no question. And then there is the Bo Bergdahl situation, again tied into the jihad. As you know, Sergeant Bergdahl was traded for 5 top Taliban terrorists back in May of last year. These men will most likely return to the battlefield to fight against America. Meantime, Bergdahl apparently left the battlefield, deserting his unit in Afghanistan. Right now, Sergeant Bergdahl is at the Fort Sam Houston barracks in Texas awaiting his fate. The Army interviewed the sergeant way back in August. By all accounts, its investigation has been completed for months, yet there's no definition. The Factor broke a story earlier this week that says the White House is pressuring the Pentagon to go easy on Bergdahl. That is why General Mark Milley has not reported back to We the People. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer says the Army has come to the conclusion that Bergdahl did indeed desert. The Army denies that, but Schaefer's standing by his story, which has also been reported by NBC News. But here's the nuance. There are different kinds of desertion, and that is giving the Army some wiggle room. The White House desperately doesn't want a trial where members of Bergdahl's unit would testify under oath that he put their lives in danger. We've already seen and heard that on TV. So President Obama would prefer that Bergdahl be charged with going AWOL, absent without leave. Then he could be quietly punished with no big exposition. But the facts show that Bergdahl did desert his unit, was captured by the Taliban in Afghanistan because of the desertion, and held by them for 5 years. So the same way to do this is to charge Bergdahl with desertion, and then, on humanitarian grounds, the president would pardon him. But the sergeant would lose back pay and be dishonorably discharged. That's what should happen. And there's more. The military is not supposed to be influenced by politics. The Pentagon is supposed to be apolitical. But Colonel Schaefer reports politics is influencing the Bergdahl situation big time. If that's true, we the people need to know about it. Bottom line, Talking Points believes the Army knows exactly what Bergdahl did and is stonewalling the process. As always, I could be wrong. And that's a matter. Now for the top story reaction, joining us from Washington, Republican Congressman Trent Franks from Arizona and Ryan Zinke from Montana, both on the House Armed Services Committee. Mr. Zinke is a former Navy SEAL. So we'll begin with you, Congressman Zinke. How do you see it?
Well, it's not going to change the conversation, the bigger issue. We did negotiate with terrorists, and we released 5 Taliban terrorists. And we've done the same thing in Gitmo. We're releasing combatants. And I think the argument is more than just a sergeant. And I hope the Pentagon is telling the truth. But if they're not, I think heads are going to roll, because the Defense Department is the last institution that has any credibility. And they should either say no comment or tell the truth. I think the American people deserve that.
All right. Now, Congressman Franks, you guys on the House Armed Services Committee can call in people and say, ask them pertinent questions. You interviewed Bergdahl back in August. You wrapped up your investigation in October. It's now almost February, and we don't know anything because General Milley is probably sitting on it. Why is he sitting on it? You guys could get them in to answer these questions, could you not?
I think the answer to that question is yes, and I think that that's the direction that he's headed. The new chairman of the Armed Services Committee, Mac Thornberry, is the very first official act that I know of that he took was to call in all the experts on terrorism and say, how do we really approach this on a strategic level rather than just a tactical level? I think he understands that the main thing that this Bergdahl swap actually did was to essentially replenish the leadership ranks of the Taliban. And we had the Secretary of Defense in to speak about this, and I will just suggest to you that this administration seems to just not understand that when they made this trade, they literally put heroes like Congressman Zinke and others at greater risk. They essentially explained to terrorists that if you take one of our people hostage, you can essentially get whatever you want. And
we're seeing that today in Jordan with their captured airmen by ISIS. Now the Jordan government's going to trade a suicide bomber. However, I would do that trade because it's a war there, and it's a POW swap. And you know, the Jordanian pilot was on a mission, and but Bergdahl is another story.
Yeah, that's a very, very different situation.
Yes, it's a different situation.
What Mr. Obama did was
I want everybody to know
it was unprecedented.
What's bothering me about this thing isn't Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. I think public opinion understands what he did. I do believe that we all know what he did. But what really dangerous, Congressman Zinke, is that if the White House is giving orders to the Pentagon about what to do in these situations, that's against our Constitution. The military is supposed to be apolitical and not running on a political basis. And you guys in Thornberry have got to get to the bottom of this.
Well, I agree. And one of the first oaths you take as a congressman to defend the